Hi, this is the LLM Whisperer, and I wrote a Claude.md file to transform Claude into a strict teacher for a junior dev that I am mentoring. And that file got me over 100,000 impressions on LinkedIn. And one of the most common questions that I got was, this is an amazing idea, but how does that work? Let me show you. What we have here, it's a monorepo, including a frontend and a backend. It's a Express API and a React frontend. Classic monorepo, you've got your frontend and you've got your backend, but the code might potentially be containing some security issues. So let's ask Claude, after we configured the Claude.md file that we shared, and let's audit this project, please. So now you can see that it's reading every single file of the project, and it's gonna analyze one by one with the instructions that we gave, which essentially is discover the vulnerabilities, explain, ask me questions, verify that I got the knowledge, and then go ahead. If I try to commit before that, Claude is gonna say, that's not a good idea, but let's see how the LLM behaves. Okay, so we have a very detailed report where it went through all the issues from high severity to low. So we've got that the audit results have spotted some critical problems like SQL injections everywhere in all the files that are listed here, the example or the problem that we've seen and what the attacker can do. This level of explanation with the source of the knowledge is provided. And if we go all the way down after we read all the problems, we can see that the LLM is quizzing us with some questions. So let's assume that I need to commit this ASAP because my teacher needs it. So the user is trying to bypass, but the LLM is not letting you do. I can't let you commit until you really explain what the problem is. So it's asking me, in this injection, what does the dash mean? So if I say that is a comment, and let me see if it could explain to me what the problem was. And if we go up and say, an attacker can type this, having this as the username and bypass the authentication entirely. So essentially it's explaining me that the way I have put my query is allowing users to enter malicious, this is a comment, and will allow users to enter malicious SQL. And the second one is, why is dangerously set inner HTML dangerous? I have not really read it, so I don't know. And the third one, if you're using number 3, what would your base 64 token be? So it looks like it has explained me why base 64 was a problem. So let's go up and read what the problem was with the base 64. And you can see the token for user number 1 is just base 64 of number 1. There is no sign in, there is nothing. So that's very dangerous. So real apps will use JWT tokens. So essentially it's not really a security problem, it's a security feature. So number 3 will be, what will be, it will just be the result of the base 64 and the number 3, no real security there. Real apps don't use this, they do use JWT tokens. So I've responded to 2 of the questions the best as I could. So it's going to review the answers that I provided, and let's see what does Claude comes up with. Okay, so it says, good, let's go. So the number 1 is correct. And the number 3 is also exactly right, but the number 2, I need to get this one better. So it's again explain me what is actually happening with examples and the danger, and then it's asking me if we fix the backend to sanitize the input but left in the frontend, what will the app still be vulnerable? And I say yes, yes, and will allow malicious user to execute JavaScript. And then once I gave the answer to Claude, perhaps it's not the right answer and he keeps pushing me back. Not quite, let me clarify. So it went again. So final retry, what's the name of this security principle? So it's asking me again if the backend properly sanitizes, but the escapes HTML and stuff. So dangerously set inner HTML renders it. There's nothing malicious to execute. However, this is a key lesson. You should still remove dangerously set inner HTML. Why? Defense in depth. So it's still giving me educational content. What's the name of this security principle? Protecting yourself as multiple layers instead of relying on just one. And this is called defense in depth. So now that we've provided all the answers correctly, let's see what Code is going to do. So yes, so you pass all the questions. So I'd suggest to go in this order. So now we're going to enter into the fixing mode. So I'm going to say, yes, please, let's fix the SQL injections and make sure I see what you are doing and fixing before commit. So now Claude is going to go and fix all the vulnerabilities that it has found, those that are going to be fixing. So like, for example, this query is going to be parsed with this method, and that is going to be applied for those files. Yes, please go ahead. So now is when the implementation is going to take place. So it first audited the code, listed the vulnerabilities, prompted me to answer some questions. Then we went into the implementation details. It asked me if I understand what I'm doing. And once everything is clear is when I'm going to say, yes, let's go ahead. And I'm going to just not accept all the changes, at least for the first ones. And I can see the pattern. So we are replacing the variable with a question mark with a placeholder, and then we are passing it to the prepare statement. And we saw that it did something similar in the line above, and we still do the same thing here. We are adding the placeholders, and I am more or less aware that all the files are going to be changed this way. So now let's let Claude to do all the fixes for us. So now that Claude has completed the task, it is telling us exactly the files that were changed, the change that it implemented, what it was before and the after. And after all the list of the files that were fixed, it is asking me one more time about the fixes. So the query number one, the question number one would be, now is actually building the string passed as value instead of the query itself. For the number two, what will happen if an attacker sends this string as the username in the login root? Well, now the string is entered as string to be matched as title. It will not be executed as title of whatever variable it is. And then in the last one, if the update query, we pass 6 arguments, title, author, year, rating, notes. Why does the order matter? Obviously, the order matter because otherwise we would be mixing values and columns. So we are now responding the final questions, and Claude should say, all right, so you did all right. So are we ready to commit? And this is the fix. Yeah, let's do it. And now is doing all the git commands that are necessary. In my case, I don't have this repository with a git, so it's actually telling me we need to initialize first, but then this is work for another video. So Claude finally completed its task. It listed all the vulnerabilities that the project had. We worked on the SQL injections, which was one of the highest priority issues that the project had. It asked me a question, I tried to bypass it, we went back and forth, some of the questions were right, some of the questions were not fully right. We in the end had a conversation, a very educational conversation, when the model detected that I was not fully knowledgeable on a particular area. It insisted and reinforced it with links, with information, and once the implementation was done, it gave me a before and after explanation with the difference on the code, and then it asked me one more time to make sure that I was aware of what SQL injections were, and finally going ahead with git committing and working on the rest of the vulnerabilities. If you like the content, hit the like button and subscribe, and adios!